Hi everyone, I am leading our little devotion catch up for the week today. So if you've got your book, we're going to have a look at the one on the 7th of July. We're going to read through that in a few moments. It's called Avoid or Embrace, and the theme, if you've read it from the 7th, was about suffering and strengthening and how all of those things work together. It's quite a challenging topic to squeeze into a couple minutes or one page out of the book. This is a thing we all go through in life. But it reminded me actually of a funny story. I can laugh now. A funny story from last summer about this time of year. So I love my garden at home. It's not massive, but it's perfect for sitting in the sun, having a little snooze, or I love gardening, growing things, all sorts of stuff. And last year, I've been growing some sunflowers. I like to grow sunflowers every year because it's just fun, isn't it? It's cool. And I've grown these sunflowers. We must have had 3 or 4 plants that were about 7 foot tall. And as we got into kind of probably August time, they'd flowered and it was amazing. You'd come out into the garden and see these beautiful big sunflower heads. Incredible. One morning we came down about 8 o'clock and I saw that one of them had been taken out, fallen over. I was like, oh my gosh, what on earth's gone here? This incredible bright yellow sunflower, 7 foot tall in our garden. Even the neighbours had seen them and they liked them. What's gone on? I was really upset. I went out, it looked like it had been chewed to death. Something's eaten my sunflower. I was absolutely gutted, and Jess will tell you this. I replay this story quite often. It's still quite close to my heart. Anyway, we came back inside. I was a little bit down. Thought, well, you know what? One's lost, but we still got a couple of other big ones and a couple more small ones. The slugs are taking loads out earlier in the summer. It happens, but whatever. Not even exaggerating. 2 minutes later, we looked out the window and we saw the pesky little squirrel climbing up the stem of this 6.5, 7 foot sunflower, eating the whole thing. And within half an hour, or within a few moments, the second one had gone. I was furious. I was angry. Actually, upset. I'm exaggerating for effect here, but actually quite upset. Next day, and we still got 1 or 2 left. When we come down the following day, all gone. Squirrels had all of them, eaten all. I must have had about 7 or 8 sunflowers in the garden in total. All gone, destroyed. Now, that's a real example of suffering in my garden that took place last year. So this year, I knew what was going to happen. So I've taken steps to prevent the squirrels. Now, I've not been mean, but what I've done is I've done my sunflower planting in a slightly different way. So we'll see what's going to happen. But don't ask me how. But reading this morning, this from the 7th rather, remind me of that story. Because actually, what I learned in that sunflower suffering of last summer has changed my approach for this year. And I think that's kind of the point we're trying to make here, and the kind of thing, as followers of Jesus as Christians, we're going to learn from our sufferings. Because actually, it's hard to go through difficult times and still hold on to bits of your faith. It just is. It's tricky, and if we're saying, no, it's fine, it's easy, it's not, we're lying. It's a difficult thing. Why do we go through hard times? It's the eternal question that I think most of us would ask God, that when we come face to face that day, it's like, Lord, why did you allow this stuff to happen? And it's complicated. We're not going to go into that now. But we know, let's have a look at the book. A reference for the 7th, avoid or embrace, is Romans 5. And it says, we also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. Suffering in us, when we choose to process it right and go through it and battle through it with our friends, with our family, with our church, with our God, it produces a change within us. So the suffering from last year of the sunflowers has produced a change in me, and we'll see what the results are. I'll let you know next time. But the point of it is, when we go through hard times, it's very easy to just chuck everything in, pack it. You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't do this. I've not got anything left. But the challenge here is embracing God. God, what are you doing? What are you trying to teach me? How do you want me to change? What can I learn? So let's have a read through and just a recap of what it says on the 7th of July. It says, Simon writes, the 19th century British naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace was second only to Charles Darwin in contributions to his field. One of his most astute observations concerned the saving nature of struggle. He stumbled across it as he watched moths struggling to hatch out from their cocoons. One particular moth was having a hard time getting out because of its undeveloped wings, so Wallace thought it'd help speed up the process. He took his penknife and made a tiny incision in the cocoon to facilitate the moth's exit. But soon he came to regret the intervention. The moth hadn't needed his help. The process of straining and stretching to get out unaided was an integral part of strengthening the moth's wings. The aborted process meant that the moth wasn't equipped to last long. It did beat its wings, folding and unfolding them, but Wallace observed that it had less colour, strength and vitality than the other moths. Over the course of its brief lifespan, the helped out moth flew poorly, fed ineffectively, and ultimately died long before it should have. No doubt, like me, there's been times when you've asked God to short circuit the painful ordeal you've been going through. Hopefully, again, like me, you can look back in gratitude on at least some of those instances and see that what came out of the struggling could not have been gained any other way. And I think that's just an important reflection for today. Like, guys, if you're going through, well, not if, I know you are, we all are, we're going through struggles. And I think ultimately what we want to say to God is, make this go away. But sometimes a shift in our attitude when we're looking at something, and it's so difficult, don't get me wrong. So difficult. But to say, God, what are you doing here in me? How can I be effective for you through this situation? The big questions of why do these things happen still exist, obviously. But if we just park that and say, God, I don't understand why, and I pray you help me understand it, but what can I do to get through this? Because maybe if God, like the moth guy in this story, was to short circuit and cut us out of all of our difficult times, we'd never have that strength, we'd never have that perseverance, that character, and ultimately that hope. Maybe that's truly how it comes to us. We have to walk through it sometimes. So a challenge, have a look at your situation and say, God, what are you trying to teach me? How are you trying to change me? What can I learn? What new approach can I go through next time I struggle? Next time I suffer? What can you use in me through this situation to help somebody else out in a similar situation, in a similar suffering, in a similar hard time? Maybe now you can think of someone who you know is having a real difficult time with whatever is going on with them. What can you do, inspired by God, through the Holy Spirit, to support them and walk with them through it? Because actually, at times it feels like we just want to stay tucked up in our cocoon. And we can't necessarily pull someone out of their suffering, but we can help produce in them, see God produce in them that perseverance, that character, and that hope. So that's just a little challenge, and some of my thoughts, it might not make too much sense. Moths and sunflowers, what's he on about? But God cares for us. Sometimes we have to battle through the hard times to be able to see that. And he is using your situation to change you, to change his world, to bring light into his kingdom. So ask him today, what is it you're doing? And how can I be part of it? Thank you guys for watching, and look forward to catching up with you soon.